Good morning, and Honourable Minister Macaulay, Commissioner Pilbags, Honourable Henry Puna, Prime Minister and Head of the Pacific Forum, Honourable Prime Minister Lord Tuivakano, our host for the Tonga Pacific Leaders Summit, distinguished leaders and senior officials of the Pacific Island countries, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's a wonderful privilege for me to be here, and I'd like to thank the hosts for a very kind invitation to take part in this. But one of the issues that has been striking to me in the last week that we've been in the region is how so many different partners from different parts of the world have come together to be with you in the quest for sustainable energy for the future. That's a sense of international solidarity that's rare to see sometimes. And I think it's a testament to the leadership that we're seeing in the Pacific, from the Pacific Island countries, from New Zealand, from the European Commission, that is enabling this coming together of all the different interests that can make a contribution to the region. Today, the summit is addressing an issue of high significance globally, which is the quest for a sustainable energy future for all the reasons that we've heard. Countries in every corner of the world are faced with scarcity, rising demand, energy insecurity, and accelerating trends of climate change. It is the decisions that we will take in the next few years that will determine the legacy that we will leave to future generations. And this is a formidable challenge. The world's population has reached over 7 billion people. 3 billion rely on wood, coal and charcoal for cooking and heating, while 1 person out of every 5 lacks access to electricity. Total final energy consumption in 2010 has almost doubled from the levels we had in 1973. And this demonstrates the scope of global demand for energy, which in all its complexity will continue to be one of the defining issues of the 21st century. But we're also fortunate to live in an era in which possibilities and opportunities for fundamental and positive change have never been greater. We're in an era of fast-moving innovation and cost reduction in technology that provides us with the potential solutions to the existential challenges that the global community faces. In a few years of phenomenal growth, renewables are making a growing contribution to the world's energy mix. In 2011, renewables accounted for 16% of final energy consumption, 20% of global electricity supply, and 100 billion liters of biofuel per year, equivalent to about 4% of transportation fuels, with trends indicating growth. In New Zealand, you're fortunate to be endowed with a wide range of renewable resources that have allowed renewables to be the backbone of your electricity system and have provided cost-effective electricity for much of your industrialized history. For me, as the Director General of a renewable energy agency, it's always a wonderful experience to be in a country that can achieve over 3/4 of its electricity generation from renewables. I feel utterly at home, and it's something that I would like to see duplicated around the world. Today, many other countries around the world are recognizing that they have similar options at hand. More precise resource mapping, falling costs, increasing deployment, and accelerating technological progress are increasing the competitiveness of renewables. Early estimates indicate that 2012 was not yet another record year for new renewable energy installations globally. Solar PV now stands at 100 gigawatts globally, growing tenfold over the last 5 years. Wind continued its steady growth, and it now stands at 280 gigawatts globally, with Europe having surpassed 100 gigawatts. And IRENA's latest study shows that the rapid deployment of renewables, combined with high learning rates, has produced a virtuous circle that is leading to significant cost declines and helping to power a renewable revolution. This was the finding of the energy ministers that had gathered at the IRENA General Assembly in January this year. So what does this mean for the Pacific Islands? Energy infrastructure is expensive everywhere, but scale and isolation make energy infrastructure cost in the Pacific even higher. The impact of oil price and supply volatility has been severe. The increase in the price of petroleum has cost most Pacific Island countries and territories some 10% of the gross national income in the span of 6 years. Reliance on oil runs counter to energy transformation. No electricity is more expensive in the region than that from diesel generation. Transforming the energy sector away from petroleum dependency is a pathway to generate new growth, employment, and income that will be needed to make sustainable development in the region a reality. The Pacific leaders recognize the central importance of a sustainable energy future, and we have just concluded the Pacific Leaders Summit in Tonga, and I'd like to thank Lord Tuivakano, Honorable Prime Minister of Tonga, for his leadership and his initiative in convening and welcoming us to Tonga for that discussion. A discussion in which the leaders discussed pragmatic and concrete ways of making this transition. Many islands have enough renewable energy potential to be self-sufficient, and they have acted to realize this potential. 11 Pacific Island states have renewable energy targets in place, with 6 aiming to reach 100%, and I understand, Minister Macaulay, that Tokelau has, with the assistance of New Zealand, already reached that target. The energy needs and opportunities in the Pacific region, coupled with the political will of its leadership, make it an earlier programmatic priority for IRENA. In January 2012, IRENA asked the leaders of the Pacific Island countries and territories how we could best help them with their requirements for the future, and the leaders adopted the Abu Dhabi Communique on accelerating renewable energy uptake for the Pacific Islands, providing a clear path for our engagement in the region, which has been guiding our programmatic activities since. The outcome of this is, first, there is a need for accurate, objective information and facts on technology, cost, best practices, policy, so that governments can make informed decisions. IRENA is analyzing technology issues of specific interest to the Pacific, such as the use of renewable energy for desalination, electricity storage, and new technologies for the use of ocean energy and algae. We have reviewed renewable energy opportunities and challenges for each Pacific Island, and we are now discussing with all stakeholders how these reviews can be translated into actionable roadmaps or complement the efforts that are already underway. Second, we facilitate the exchange of experience and best practices by serving as a network hub. IRENA and the Government of Malta hosted the Renewable Islands Global High-Level Meeting in 2012, where over 130 participants for 48 countries, including 15 ministers, along with representatives of the private sector, met to take stock and see how progress can be accelerated. Island states have called upon IRENA to establish a global renewable energy islands network, GREEN, to enable pooling of knowledge, exchange of ideas, and to seek innovative solutions that can accelerate the uptake of cost-effective renewable energy technologies on islands. Green clusters on roadmaps for renewable technology deployment and on renewables for island power grids were launched yesterday here in Auckland, with additional clusters to be launched later in the year. We are hoping that this will provide the real hub through which the exchange of experiences at a practical level in terms of what has been learned, both in terms of what is possible and what is not possible, can inform our future actions. The third part is tailored advice on specific issues needed to accelerate deployment of renewable energy, such as assessment of renewables potentials, or identification of specific technology solutions. One of the critical steps for better understanding of the opportunities and barriers to deployment is a renewables readiness assessment, which is a methodology we have developed in IRENA with the help of our member states that helps countries define its own agenda by assessing the overall energy situation and the role that the deployment of renewable energy can play in meeting national priorities. We have recently completed the Kiribati RRA, which has proven to be a powerful tool that triggered the government to initiate its target setting process and the implementation of a plan to achieve it. Pacific leaders also highlighted that an important tool to realizing the ambition for sustainable energy is the development of actionable roadmaps. Tonga is well underway in pursuing its path with the Tonga Energy Roadmap, and we were in Tonga last week to discuss this, and we are currently working with Nauru to define its own roadmap. Assessing grid stability to better understand the constraints and identify solutions was one of the priorities identified. We have completed pilot assessments of the feasibility of operating Pacific Island power systems with higher shares of renewables, and in cooperation with utilities, we have developed a methodology and a tool for assessing grid stability. This year, they are being further tested in Palau at present, with the aim of establishing local capacity for dynamic modeling of grids with high shares of variable renewables. We're also working with policymakers, regulators, and utilities to build capacities for the development of policy frameworks needed to incentivize renewable energy integration into island grids. Distinguished participants, we live in a globalized and interconnected world. And I think we must look at our own energy situation here in the Pacific in the context of what's happening globally. And just to share with you the global picture that we are seeing from our vantage point in IRENA is a number of trends that are converging that can help us to make a transformative future. I already mentioned the issue of costs. We have concluded a study where we analyzed 8,000 medium to large scale projects being implemented throughout the world in terms of cost of technology, and we are seeing dramatically decreasing costs in virtually every major renewable energy technology. For example, costs of wind technology have declined 65% in 2 years. This is a phenomena that is making renewables positive for investment in a way that hasn't existed before. In many markets, we are seeing that wind and solar in particular, and especially here in the Pacific, have achieved grid parity or are cheaper than diesel generation in almost every situation that we are seeing. Looking at the rest of the world, we are headquartered in Abu Dhabi in the Middle East in an oil-producing country. That's an extraordinary message in itself. A country that derives its wealth from fossil fuels is looking to its future in terms of sustainable energy. And that's a message we are seeing replicated throughout the Middle East and North Africa today. I was last week at the inauguration of the first concentrated solar power plant in Abu Dhabi, Shams 1, which will be generating 100 megawatts of power, and one of the major contributions to the Abu Dhabi grid. This is only the beginning of the investment that these countries are undertaking. I will be in Saudi Arabia very soon. Saudi Arabia has announced an extraordinary commitment to clean energy. They have announced a $110 billion investment for 40 gigawatts of renewable power, which will be on stream by 2032, and that being the first announcement. And throughout the region, we are seeing commitment to development of infrastructure, investment in renewable energy generation with a view to looking to the future. In Africa, where we have had a cycle of economic growth now in the last decade, which looks to project into the future, energy demand is increasing 7 to 8% per year, population is increasing, and infrastructure is not keeping pace. They are looking to their sustainable energy future, harnessing the immense geothermal, solar, hydro, and wind resources throughout Africa, and we are working with them for the establishment. And I was with Andres in Addis Ababa recently with the African energy ministers to talk about the concept of a clean energy corridor that will run throughout the length of East and Southern Africa and connect to the grids of African countries. This could be transformative. So the opportunities are immense. We see huge growth in the emerging markets. This growth will drive further cost reductions, further innovation in technology, and I believe that we need to be wise in thinking forward. The decisions that we make today on the basis of the developments that we can project should be the right ones, otherwise we will have major problems to deal with in the future. The creation and growth of IRENA is a reflection of this reality. In a few days, it will be only 2 years since the formal establishment of the agency, which is, to me it feels like a lot longer, but it will be only 2 years. Since then, 160 countries are engaged in its work, out of which 108 and the European Union have already undertaken the legal process of ratification of the statute. Now, this is an extraordinary phenomena, and you were very kind, Prime Minister, to say very nice things about me, but I think it's a commitment the countries have themselves, looking for an institutional structure that can support them in the right way, which explains why there is this tremendous interest in this agency. And the Pacific Islands are some of the most active members, giving a clear signal to the international community that their future security and prosperity hangs in the balance, and signaling their determination to take charge of their own future. And I think that is a very, very inspiring message for us. There are still significant barriers that remain. The challenges I outlined will only grow in the years ahead. It will take perseverance, innovation, entrepreneurship, and dedication from all of us to overcome them. But I believe, as Minister Murray said so clearly in his introduction this morning, that we are up to the challenge, that we can, working together, secure a better future for the Pacific Islands' energy supply and sustainability, and a future that provides greater dignity and opportunity for all and protects the planet that we share. Thank you very much.